Hello, I'm Jonathan. You can call me Jadgus. Here we are back in Terraria, and it's raining. Now, there's a few mechanics I realised I didn't explain in the last one. Yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is just explain for the shambles that the first episode was, because I realised that I didn't really explain anything. So first and foremost on our agenda, our schedule, is to explain everything in here. So obviously, I got a sword. I didn't tell you what it did. That's not helpful. Jacob, what are you playing at? Now you've aggravated that slime. Thank you for that. But obviously the first sword I started with just comes out like this. It just comes out. It doesn't attack around you. It's just some tiny, sharp little jet. But this cactus sword has a whole big area of effect, I guess, and you can hit things much more easily with it, and it actually does a lot more damage. Conveniently, it's better in every single way, so that's really quite helpful. Also, this wand, that should be fairly self-explanatory. It shoots like a little flaming ball that does damage. It uses my mana, I think. So that's a mechanic. You have mana up here. You have health, obviously, which are these hearts. And you have mana, which is magic. So use that for some weapons. Obviously, this uses mana. Tells you what damage it does, and all that should be a fairly self-explanatory. Acorns, you plant those to. It gives you a little sapling, which, if you go off screen and then back again, that becomes a tree. Mushrooms, healing potions, they heal you. There's a button that you can press that automatically heals. It automatically uses one of your healing potions, so you can use it in the fray. This bomb, so it's bombs and grenades. There's a few explosive items. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the word consumable. You see, it says bomb consumable. The word consumable, that means that if I were to use this, I would lose it from my inventory. So while on the sword, that doesn't say consumable, and on the wand, all of these, it doesn't say consumable. This here means that if I throw it, I will lose something from my inventory. That's what consumable means. So you can have consumable arrows. Well, no, not consumable arrows, but in this chest, see, throwing knives are consumable. Shurikens are consumable because when you throw them, I now have a smaller number of shurikens than I started off with. That's all that consumable means. It doesn't actually mean that you consume something. You don't eat the shurikens. The blowpipe, that's obviously a ranged weapon. Normally when you hit grass, you see this grass here, if you bash the grass, you don't get anything from it at all. But if you're holding a blowpipe, then you have a chance of getting these seeds, which are the ammo for the blowpipe. So now if I were to use a blowpipe. This was really bad. I trapped myself in there. So that's what the blowpipe does. That's just quite an early game ranged weapon. Now this radar, this is new to 1.3. What it does is it says here 2 enemies nearby, so you can turn that off, but that's not really important. That's normally if you place it in your inventory, then it gives me another defense. You see, but if I and it shows me that, but if I just have it in my inventory, then I see that, but I don't have the benefit of its defense. So I don't have anything in here in my in my equipment slots, so that means I can place it there and I get the defense bonus. Now this guarding band of regeneration, with items you get prefixes. See, this is a hard radar. The item is radar. The prefix is hard, obviously. Guarding is a prefix here. They give you... It's the prefix that gives you the defense there, you see. And everything in green comes from the name, the prefix given. Obviously, it says slowly regenerates life. That is part of the items buff. That's part of the band of regeneration. But the 2 defense, that comes from the word guarding. That should hopefully clear up a few things. You have these different things, but I'll explain those when we get to them. These are your... You can put a helmet in there, or what you do is you have helmet slots. You have armor slots where you can put in equipment that protects you, that gives you higher defense, and sometimes bonuses, buffs like these. And then in the social slot, you can just put purely aesthetic things. So if you find a rain hat and you prefer it to the helmet you're wearing, you can put it there, and it overwrites the sprite of the helmet. So that's what that does. And the dyes, you can colour them. I'm explaining this all now quite handily because it's night time. I don't particularly want to go out there at night time. Obviously, all these undesirables turn up and start knocking on your doors. So I'm going to ignore them, and that's why I'm explaining all this to you now, so I don't have to do it later. In the chest, we have these materials, plants. You find plants all over the place. Cobwebs don't really go with plants. Cobwebs, you can use them to create, if you have a loom, you can use them to create silks, and then you can use those to create furniture items. But cobwebs, just a moment, you can use them to make ropes if you're running low on ropes. It's slightly different, looks slightly different aesthetically. But cobwebs are useful to collect, especially for later on, if you have to make a bed or something. Beds you can click on and they set you a different spawn point. But these plants, you can use them to make potions. You see, in this chest, I have potions. Recall potion is useful. I think I'll take one of those. And these potions obviously have different effects. Like the recall potion teleports you home. It either teleports you to the spawn point or teleports you to your bed if you've set a bed. If you have a bed and it's in a room, and you can click on that, and then that'll send you back to the bed. This mining potion, it increases mining speed. Obviously, you can read that, I'm sure. Build a potion, increases placement speed and range, so that's of blocks and things. This dynamite, again, this is like the bomb. Now, when you have... It's slightly different, obviously. It has a larger explosion, and it destroys most tiles. I think what that means, I'm not sure, because when it says destroys some tiles and destroys most tiles, either that means it actually digs up, it mines the tiles, like if you were digging, you get something out of it. Or what that might mean is that when you use this and it destroys most tiles, you might not get anything out of the other side. So you'll have a hole, but you may not get anything out of it. You may not get the mud or dirt or wood out of it, out of the other end. So I think that's what bombs do. I think that's what is meant by destroy some tiles, but I'm not sure. I might be wrong about that. Now this suspicious looking eye, I mentioned it briefly in passing. I should have gone into more depth with it. But what that does is, one of the mechanics of the game is there are bosses that you find, and the bosses are really there as like a progression marker. The next, I'm going to say way shrine. That means very little. It's kind of a milestone. That's a much better word. Milestone for your progression through the game. So the first boss, it doesn't have any variant. The bosses later on depend what kind of world you're living in, but what kind of world residing in. But the first boss, invariably, is the Eye of Cthulhu. You see that? I think I'm pronouncing Cthulhu right. Thanks, Lovecraft, for having such a confusing name. But you can either use this, which is consumable, so that means once you use it, the eye goes away, it leaves your inventory, you can't get it back. But when you use that, it will summon the Eye of Cthulhu. If not, you can not do that, and the Eye of Cthulhu will turn up at some point. Naturally, he just appears because the game judges you, it deems you worthy to fight the boss. So, he appears on his own sometimes, or you can use this to summon him, and that's what that does. You have these boss summon items. Now this chest I'm using for just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Man-made objects. So these are obviously synthesized things. They're not organic. In this one, I've got. These are just temporary chests. Like I said, this house is just temporary. I'm gonna have a crafting room and probably some chest area in this area under here, and then probably some NPC houses up there. I'll get rid of the map. Yeah, that's something new to 1.2. You have this map, and this. You can either have an overlay, which it's nighttime is now over, apparently. But you can have this overlay map, which is kind of reminiscent of Diablo 2. And I really like the overlay map in Diablo 2, but it's really distracting in Terraria, so I normally just have the map up in the corner there. But like I say, these chests are just temporary, so I will probably have just a chest dedicated to minerals and ores, and then have another chest dedicated to plants and seeds, and then have another chest dedicated to natural, organically generated building blocks. So that's what these are. Obviously, clay box, dirt box, sand blocks, cactus, like wood you get from things that grow on their own, so they're renewable. These ores, there are different levels of ores, like tin ore, I think I mentioned last episode, was interchangeable with copper ore. In some worlds you get tin and... now he's aggravated the umbrella slime. Because it's raining, you get specific rain enemies. Thanks for that, Jacob. That's really grand. And so the fish come out of the sea and walk around because it's raining. They don't do that in real life, which is kind of disappointing. If they did, that would be really quite fun. But they don't do that, and it's a shame. So copper and tin ore are interchangeable depending on what world you're in. When the world is generated, it either places copper ore or tin ore in the world. Now I've got this ore. This world clearly has tin ore. If you actually look at the, copper as a real world metal, it's hardly comparable to tin. And iron is interchangeable with lead. Again, not a real life comparison, but in this world, the ore I have is iron. Tungsten or silver is the next tier. You get tiers of metals. Tin ore is the weakest. Tin is the weakest metal. Then iron is the next best metal. Then you have silver, and then you have gold. Obviously, there are variants of silver and gold. I have the tungsten variant of silver. And then you get much more powerful ores later on in the game. Great. See, again, flying fish, that's a enemy that is specific to when it's raining. I'm not going to use this eye, so I may as well put it in one of my chests. Now, what I'm going to do is, there's a few things that I realised something I should have done last episode to stop me rambling on like I did, was create a kind of agenda, a schedule of things to do in each episode. So this episode, what I intend to do is build a quick little house, get some more crafting furniture. You see, this is crafting furniture, because when you're just standing around like an average Joe, there's a certain there's certain things you can build with depending on what's in your inventory. But as soon as you approach this crafting table, you get a whole load more things to do, and there are different furnitures that allow you to do different things. This episode I'm going to try and get an anvil, hopefully, which allows you to use metals. You can create more things with the metals that were in that chest. I'm also going to try and get a furnace or a smelter so that I can, again, craft better things, more different things. But also I'm going to try and maybe set up a couple of houses on top of here, because these NPCs, you can't just... I mean, we only have one NPC right now, but NPC obviously stands for non-playable character, and they have houses that they can live in, and the houses have to meet certain regulation standards. Otherwise the building... the union of builders comes knocking on your door. And if they're wandering around, it's just that, that's not healthy for them. So you have to create rooms for them that meet certain regulations, and then you can. But if you have an excess room, like a spare room, and then you have a bomb in your inventory, say, then you get certain NPCs that will respond to whatever's in your inventory. Like, I have over a certain amount of money. That means that the merchant will probably appear. If I build a room, I'll probably have the merchant appearing at some point. Rope there. I seem to be using a lot of rope, which I don't normally use. I normally use these wooden platforms, which are platforms. They're like blocks that you can walk on, but you can pass through the bottom and through the top of them. That's what platforms are. It stopped raining. That was quite abrupt. Okay. Right. That's good. Good to know. I completely forgot what I was saying. Oh well. I'll chop down some trees while I try and remember. Is my copper axe. Obviously copper is the weakest tier of metal, so it's taken me a long time to cut down these trees. Little slimes trapped in there. Trapped in that little hidey hole. Poor guy. Should probably help him out. Or kill him and take his sweet gel. That sounds like a horrible thing to do, but really it's quite humane. They don't have a nervous system, so they can't feel pain. I mean, that's what I've always assumed. I should probably... No, I'm sure they don't mind. They understand. I need the gel to make torches. Right, I've completely forgotten what I was saying. Yes, I was building houses, so I'm going to try and build houses up here so that these NPCs can move in here. I'm going to terraform this little... It's quite unruly at the moment. Use my pickaxe. Just flatten this ground off so I have something to work with. See, there's another thing that Smart Cursor is useful for. It's you can just point it in front of you instead of having to select individual blocks with your cursor. Then it selects them automatically. That's what it does. Sometimes it gets it wrong, but most of the time it's actually pretty useful if you're mining out a flat area. Oh, hello slime. You are going to be able to leave, unless I accidentally murder you. Oh dear. No, sorry. I'm so sorry. This this cactus sword is considerably better than that copper short sword. So these rooms have to be enclosed, little enclosed spaces. So I'll probably just start by just building one here. Just to move the guide into. A lot of people don't like the guide. They seem to think he's pretty redundant. I've always liked him. He's really useful in my experience, because what he does, if you don't know how to craft something, you can go to him and you can say, "Excuse me, Jacob, please, sir. Can I talk to you? May I interrupt you just for a moment?" He gives you when you first start, he gives you this advice to see. That's what I was talking about the people, the NPCs moving in. But if you don't know how to craft something, you can talk to him and you can ask him crafting. And then this little box appears here. This box isn't normally here, but here, Jacob, let me. You're distracted, obviously. But you can place materials into this box here, and then he tells you everything you can use, everything you can make with that material. Like if you go onto this banquet table, it says that you need 8 wood to make it, but then you also need a sawmill, which is a kind of crafting furniture, like the crafting bench there. And then he tells you all this useful information. And I've always found him really, really very handy, but most people don't feel the same way. Which seems a little strange to me. I've always liked the guy. He's always been there. I mean, he's been with me since the start. You know, ever since this world was born, he's been there. He's been there for me. He's been my shoulder to cry on. And I'm talking nonsense again. I get the impression that might happen quite often. But the room is far too long. Doors are 3 blocks high. That's something I should talk about. Blocks. So your character it's 3 blocks high by 2 blocks wide, and that is because when most it seems to be under the assumption that a block is 2 feet by 2 feet, so that your character is 5 feet by 1.5 feet, and that means that in effect, you are 3 blocks high by 2 blocks wide, because each block is worth 2 feet. Right, let's go. Oops. Sort your house out, man. Don't worry. Won't have to. I'll be back. I'll be back. You should probably stick a rope there or something, or some platforms, so I can actually get up on that side. It would be quite an annoying thing if I had to keep running around this way each time. There's a worm. Note that little guy. Probably explain him later. You do get animals in the world that are non-violent, like this little guy, little bunny. And I mean that worm hardly counts, but let's say he does, just to make him feel better. Now, one of the requirements of a room, it has to be a certain size, which I think I've surpassed. I think that room is plenty big enough. But then you also need. It also needs walls. Like you can see, just sky behind it. That's not good. So we're going to the crafting bench. We're going to find walls from one wooden block. You can create 4 walls. So it takes 1 wood to make 4 wood walls. Now that's 4 high by goodness knows how many wide, so I'm going to need quite a few. Now that seems like a lot, 60 seems like a lot, but I imagine I'm going to be using that up really quite quickly. Let's just put that in there. Again, I really should have some way of getting up on that side. Should probably also terraform this bit because it's quite hideous. Now, smart cursor again is quite useful for placing walls. This is only something I've discovered recently. If I didn't have smart cursor on, I would have to place each wall individually, and you see already that's taken a very long time. See, I only have 10 left. Oh wow, 60. I got it perfect. I got that perfect. Now, the room has walls. It is of a certain size. It has doors, so that our friend Jacob can get in and out. But it also needs a light source, so it's not complete pitch black in there. And it also needs a surface and a chair. A surface and a comfort item. I don't know why. I think it's just to, just make you. It forces you to do something with your time. So now we're gonna just. I could make a workbench Oh, actually, a workbench takes more wood. I always thought it took less. But so we're going to make a table at the crafting bench. Also going to make a little chair, and then our friend Jacob can move in very shortly, and then we can stop worrying about him blubbering around out here. Blubbering is not the right word, but it's the word I used, so I'm very sorry about that. So we're going to see, look, if you go into housing, you have this query mark, and you can click on a room, and it says, this house is missing a table and a chair. So it gives you all the important information you need. So now we're going to put a table in here. This is new to 1.3. This marking, this placing guide, that didn't used to be in here. You had to guess. I mean, some items, this item is 3 wide, but some items are 2 wide, and you're never sure which block your cursor corresponds to. So you're not sure where the crafting table's going to go. But now this is here. It makes it very easy to know exactly where the table's going to land. And now, my dear friend, you have a house. He's not going to move in there until I mean, right now he's playing around down here, and he's not going to be able to get up there until I go off screen. It's in the same way trees cannot grow if I'm looking at them. And that man, Jacob, cannot get into his house while I'm watching him. So we're going to go down here while he's doing his thing. While he's moving in, getting comfortable, settling down. And we're going to see if I can find some more ores that I failed to get last time. Because I said at the beginning that I wanted to make a anvil. You need lots of iron, or possibly lead. Oh, actually, this world has... Good grief. This world has iron in it, so yeah, it's going to be an iron anvil. You can make lead anvils in other worlds. Look at this, isn't this nice? Jadgus' plea for death was answered by zombie. Thank you, zombie. I was pleading. I was pleading very hard. Obviously, I failed to place torches last time as well, so let's make up for lost ground. Also, I'll grab that torch. Torch, not a torch. That is a chest. That is very definitely a chest, not a torch at all. Chests are always handy. The more chests you have, the more refined crafting, labeling system, the more refined organization system you can have. Now, this is a certain depth. Beyond a certain depth, you stop getting this solid background. You start getting backgrounds like this. This is because this counts as a surface up here. Obviously, it's underground, but it still counts as the surface. This is like cavern layer or something. Here is some ore. We're gonna be watching out for ore. Clay is also a useful block. You can use that for. You can use that to make plant pots, or you can use that to make bricks, red bricks. There's many different bricks you can have in this game. Red brick is kind of, you know, classic brick. When people think of bricks, I'm sure they think of the little red ones. Now, while I'm aware that I haven't actually done much mining right now, it's approaching half an hour, so I'm going to use my recall potion. I'm going to go back home. Got a little house for Jacob there. Let's go in there, talk to Jacob, my pal. Again, I should really set up some way to get up on that side. Use some ropes again, instead of platforms. Let's get inside and let's do a quick recap of this episode. So I said I was going to make an anvil and try and get some more crafting furniture. I failed to do that entirely. But I did make Jacob a house, and I think I explained some things. Some mechanics of the game which I failed to do last time. So I'm going to consider this episode a success, despite the fact that I didn't get anything off my original agenda done. Right, so I think that wraps it up. See you next time.